But our company, DX Solutions, is all about anti-money laundering software. And usually when people hear compliance, their first thought is definitely not human trafficking. Their first thought is a boring man in a suit with a clipboard, walking around, filling out an Excel table, telling you whether or not what you're doing is right. What people don't realise is that the compliance aspect of the entire thing has a very, very human element. This stuff is all relating to the anti-money laundering checks that were going on in Germany recently, and how there's a complete failure in the system. Basically, because of that failure, terrorist attacks were actually happening. There were real live terrorist attacks, people being put in trouble with guns and huge attacks, buses driving into public, because the anti-money laundering procedure, because the compliance procedure wasn't in place properly. What that kind of leads to, and the way that most of this money is being funded into terrorism, is illegally earned money. And that money, the huge majority of it, is being earned through weapons trafficking, drug trafficking, and human trafficking. Weapons are definitely not cheap, especially on the black market. Drugs are surprisingly cheap on the black market when you're buying them in bulk. But humans, well, humans are a lot more expensive than both of those things. Of course, when you compare that to a human life, you can never call it expensive because it's far too cheap for what it is. But the amounts of money that are changing hands are astronomical. And it's quite scary to see how that plays out and how you can do it. Now, usually when people think about anti-money laundering compliance, again, the majority of what they think, well, usually most people don't know what it is. They think about fraud. So they think your credit card is being stolen, they think somebody is trying to hack into your bank account, or they think, okay, somebody didn't pay their tax, how are they going to get his money? How is he going to clean that money through the system? What they don't realise is how all of these things are actually having a huge financial impact, and how you're really, in your bank and in your company and in your fintech and in any of the financial providers you work with, you are seeing money flows which are the exact profit from human trafficking. So they really are coming directly out of that. Before I tell you how you see it and what it is and the way that it works and what you've got to look for, probably just important again to reinforce what is actually happening. So some of the things that those people are going to. I actually really hate this graphic because I find this graphic makes it look quite fun. Like, I think this graphic is somehow a positive little picture that makes it look like a comic book, but when you read the words underneath it and realise what is happening, it's not fun at all. But usually with human trafficking, you're dealing either with a direct abduction, so somebody is quite literally taken from the streets as a child or an adult, put into a van, put into a bus, put into a ship, gone. Or what we're quite often seeing, and this may ring like a pulse for some of you if you've ever worked abroad or gone and taken sort of a teaching job abroad, is essentially a job application or a job description telling you that you can go and work abroad for a year, you'll get money, you'll get training, you'll have a wonderful life, they'll provide you with some housing, and then you'll have a year left on your visa. You can either come back or you can stay there and fend for yourself for a year. And so, for anyone who has done something such as myself and gone and taught English abroad in the past, it's the same application process. You get a form, you fill it out, you don't meet the person, you're told you've got a job, you get on a plane and you go. For me, it worked out fine. But for approximately 20.9 million people, that didn't work out fine. Yeah? So that process of applying for a job, thinking that they were getting on a bus, thinking that they were going to have a new life, a new job, get some experience behind them, potentially learn a new language in a foreign country, turned out to be the worst decision they've ever made. Usually, this process happens during part of the transfer process. So the lovely company says, guys, don't worry about getting the bus to the airport, don't worry about getting the bus from the airport, we'll meet you, our people will take care of you, you're part of the team now. Get into a bus, and that's pretty much the last thing you can ever expect to see. The things that happen beyond that then, as typical stuff, like I say, forced labour, we spoke about forced prostitution, but organ theft on the black market, so there is a huge market that is beyond any of the unicorns that you're seeing in the startup world out there in its size for organs, for human organs, which you simply cannot get at the speed you need them. For people who have the resources and are incredibly sick, they will pay millions for a kidney or a liver that is compatible with their body. Quite literally millions. And that, of course, forces people who want to make money out of that into finding a way of doing it. Forced prostitution. Forced prostitution is a really interesting one. I wrote my graduate thesis on the rights of prostitutes and how they should be allowed to sell themselves, and how that should be a personal choice. I spent quite a lot of time going to fintech events and sport events in Amsterdam, and always as a young person thought how amazingly open the city was and how it was really kind of liberal and cool that there's people there. What people don't really talk about is the fact that, sure, there's theoretically a right to choose to have that occupation, but actually the majority of people you're seeing there aren't there by choice. Amsterdam is actually within Europe the top global offender for, or the top European offender for human trafficking as a destination, with the major offender as a sending country being Moldova. In Moldova, it's really easy. I cannot even explain how easy. I mean, you can quite literally walk into and I've seen it happen undercover with an undercover camera, walk into a park, ask somebody about how it's going to happen, ask them if they can connect you to somebody to provide you with a girl, and within about 2 connections, you found somebody who will hook you up to someone.